Hello, my name is Julia Silano, and this afternoon I'll be presenting my scholarly paper topic called Partnership is Not Ownership, Indigenous Peoples' Right to Self-Determination Within Sport for Development in Canada. I acknowledge my privilege being of Euro settler ancestry and living and learning on traditional Indigenous lands. Physical activity as a development tool has a historical legacy rooted in assimilation tactics dating back to the residential school system in Canada. Through my scholarly inquiry, I have highlighted how recent federal funding schemes have undermined Indigenous-led sport organizations towards enhancing Indigenous youth development through sport and recreation. I argue that the current structure of Sport for Development or SFD initiatives favoring non-Indigenous organizations to create and deliver such sport programs constrain self-determination. The Canadian federal government set aside almost $10 million per year for SFD programs in Indigenous communities. Enormous investments were pooled into an international NPO called Right to Play, not the national Indigenous-led sports organization, the Aboriginal Sports Circle. While Right to Play's efforts to engage with marginalized communities within Canada, in addition to those in the Global South, are certainly important, it may be a question if it is the best and most appropriate delivery agent in Northern Ontario Indigenous communities. Play is an international NGO. It was not created by Indigenous peoples as the Aboriginal Sports Circle was. Government and far-reaching NPOs use the word collaboration with regard to STP programs joint with communities. However, it is not ownership. Through ownership comes control, and the federal government has made it obvious that financial control is not prioritized amongst Indigenous sports organizations to deliver their own SFD programs. Indigenous peoples are amongst the most socially, economically marginalized, and politically disempowered peoples in the world, who also have some of the worst health outcomes. The ongoing denial of Indigenous self-determination would therefore be doubly destructive of Indigenous health. Through my extensive research and analysis of a recent case example, I've concluded self-determination and reconciliation remain highly contested in the paradox of sport used to promote health and Indigenous rights in the Canadian context. In Canada, official apologies and truth commissions have the potential to address past wrongs and spark meaningful social projects. However, in practice, governments may place rigid material and symbolic limits upon such promises that instead promote Eurocentric ideologies.